In the old station building, where no one announced departures anymore, and the lamps flickered like they were breathing out the last of the past, there was still a working luggage locker. It functioned quietly, unofficially, as if the world had forgotten to shut it down. Ryan Porter, a 34-year-old electrician with too many moves and too few dates on his calendar, stumbled in by chance. He was escaping the rain, but what caught his attention was a rusted sign on the wall. Lockers, still active. He hadn't planned to leave anything, yet he walked over. A small terminal stood nearby. It spat out a key, engraved on it, 137. The metal click from inside the locker sounded almost personal, as if something had waited for him to open it. When he turned the key and pulled the door open, there was just one object inside. An old men's leather glove, clearly from the 1950s, with a worn inner lining. For a second, he felt like he recognized it. But that couldn't be true. Ryan held the glove in his hands, and at first, it seemed like just an old accessory. But within seconds, something inside him shifted, as if someone beneath his skin flipped a switch. The smell of dust gave way to rain, tobacco, and something else, like memories not his own suddenly forcing their way to the surface. He blinked, and for a split second, a vivid image flashed before him. A diner called Betty's, a woman with a scarf around her neck, and old music he had never heard but somehow recognized. He jerked his hand away like he'd touched fire, but the strange sensation lingered. It didn't feel like his fear. It felt borrowed, as if, along with the glove, he had touched someone else's pain. He quickly shut the locker, but the key wouldn't come out. He tried turning it back, but the mechanism jammed. The glove still lay inside, but now he couldn't rid himself of it, nor of what it had done to him. The next morning, Ryan woke with the unsettling feeling that he had already lived this day. Everything, from the noise on the street to the position of the coffee mug, felt eerily familiar. He knew he'd placed the locker key on the dresser, even before he did it. He knew the phone would ring, and who would be calling, even though he didn't recognize the number. But most of all, he knew he would see something strange in the mirror. And he did. Not his own reflection, but that of a man in an old-fashioned shirt, with tired eyes and a fresh scar beneath one of them. It lasted only a heartbeat, but Ryan recoiled as if someone inside the glass had been watching him. When he returned to the station, something in him already knew the way. He approached locker 137 like an old friend. The glove was still there, but now there was also an old photograph, black and white, framed and smudged with a faint fingerprint. The photo was of him, but the photo had to be at least 60 years old. Ryan began hearing a voice at night. At first, he thought it was the neighbor's radio or old pipes, but the sound was too close. The voice never said his name. It simply spoke, whispered. It spoke of lost things, a watch, a child's toy, a feather, a torn letter. And each time Ryan tried to write it down, the voice would fall silent, like it sensed being noticed. One night, he woke with the distinct feeling that someone had been standing beside his bed. He opened his eyes sharply and saw the wardrobe door slowly swinging shut, though it had been latched. A faint line of dust was disturbed on the floor, like the track of a vintage cane. His own hand was clenched in a fist, and inside it was a rusted button. He didn't know where it had come from. That day, he returned to locker 137. Inside, someone had scratched with a fingernail. "Remember what never was." He traced the words with his finger, and for a second, saw a woman with eyes full of tears. She didn't speak, but he knew she had been waiting. For him, or for what lived inside him. Ryan woke up on the floor of an unfamiliar apartment. He didn't remember arriving, but somehow knew he was meant to be there. The wallpaper was old, floral, faded by years of sunlight. On the walls were photos of people he didn't recognize, and yet he knew exactly who they were. A man in uniform, a girl with a braid, a child holding a toy boat. Everything felt both foreign and intimate. In the kitchen, he found a bowl of half-eaten soup. It was still warm. Someone had just left. On the fogged glass of the window, a message had been drawn from the inside. "You're here again." He couldn't breathe. His hands shook. He ran, and only on the street did he realize that the house he'd been in had burned down years ago. In his dream, Ryan stood at the station, but everything moved in reverse. Trains arrived, but never opened. People exited and vanished backward, like film rewinding. He approached himself as a younger, frightened version and said, "Don't take the glove." But the younger self didn't hear. He woke screaming. There was a drop of blood on the pillow, a handprint on the wall, his hand, but the fingers were longer, not quite human. He understood then. The dream wasn't a dream. It was a memory, just not his, or not his anymore. Desperate, Ryan visited a spiritualist circle in town. An old woman named Miss Elsie received him in a creaky house that smelled of candle wax and damp wood. She didn't let him speak, just placed the glove on the table and closed her eyes. "You are not the first to wear this memory," she said. "You are a vessel, not a writer. Someone is filling you with someone else's past, so you forget your own present." The room grew cold. The walls groaned. The glove vanished from the table, though no one touched it. Miss Elsie collapsed to the floor, clutching her throat. On the mirror appeared the words, "He hears everything." The station where he had found the locker didn't exist on any map. Ryan showed pictures to friends. None recognized it. There was no mention of that platform in city records. Panicked, he returned and saw the whole station overgrown with moss, untouched for decades. But locker 137 was still there. He opened it. Inside was one final item, a key to an apartment he'd never rented, but knew like his own skin. And beside it, a mirror, small, but glowing, and whispering. He opened the door to that apartment. Everything was exactly like in a memory he couldn't remember. The air smelled of salt and ash. A note hung on the wall. "You're not the first. You are the last." In the room was a chair. In the chair, a shadow. It rose as he entered, passing through him like smoke. In the mirror he saw, it wasn't Ryan. It was the one who had been inside all along. The one who had lived others' lives, forgetting his own. The one now drawn back to the empty apartment, like a magnet to a fragment of himself. He returned to the station one last time. Locker 137 was gone. Only a zero now. No key, no lock, just absence. But inside, another glove. The same. Or not. He took it, and everything vanished. He was never seen again. But the station sometimes appears in strangers' phone photos. And Locker Zero is always open, waiting for someone else to remember what wasn't theirs and become no one.